what now, right now?
Well, it's 7.
Get somebody to do it.
All right, 7 o'clock. So we will call to order the Town of Farragut Visual Resources Review Board meeting for November 2022. So the first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the October 2022 meeting. Is there any discussion or comments about the minutes from October?
Motion to approve.
I've got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so the next item is the staff report for the wall signs approved over the past month.
Okay, we just had 3 this past month that got approval in that time period. One was Status Dough for, it's a donut and coffee shop. It's on Kingston Pike. We have a Yamato ramen and poke bowl. It's where Nukes was. That's sort of the design of the sign. It's obviously going up there where the Nukes sign used to be, but it's that's going to be a pretty large facility. That was a large restaurant for anyone that was in Nukes. So, and then the Comfort Inn is redoing their whole building. This isn't the best picture because they're sort of photoshopping on some of the other changes that they're going to make. That gray is going to be replacing, but showing the signage that's going on the walls there. They're also going to have it on their main area. So they're putting, they'll have 2 signs on that building, the 1A and the 1B there. And that's it for those. If you have any questions on any of them, I can try to answer them, but if you don't, we'll.
All right. Any questions or comments for staff on the wall signs?
Mark, do you know what square footage was on Nukes?
Of the building or the sign?
No, the sign.
I could do the math quick. The way we would measure that would be the 52-inch by the 144. So
It's going to fit that existing insert without any problem?
Yeah.
Or does it have to be raised?
I'm coming up with 52 square feet on that. Yeah, it looks like it would. That's 18 feet wide, and the sign's only 12 feet wide,
Okay.
and that brick space up there. And the way we measure that, though, is we measure the entire linear length of that building face, which is why they can have the size of the sign that they're proposing. Anything else?
No, not me.
Okay. If no other questions, we'll move on down to the ground mounted sign applications. So first one on the agenda is Sleep Inn, located at 11341 Campbell Lakes Drive. And this looks like the smaller, I guess, of the 2 ground mounted signs. So
Yeah, the Sleep Inn has taken over, the Clarion. They're, really just refacing the existing signs on the property, at least in terms of their ground signs. This is just a straight replacement of the face. It's a pre-existing sign, so they don't have to elevate it anymore. It only has a 9-inch base, but that's what's there now. I contacted them. They made some corrections, but we still need a compliant landscape plan. It looks like they're close to being compliant, but we really need them to spell out, exactly what those shrubs are for ongoing enforcement, and they may need to add one. We require 6, a minimum of 6 in a 50 square foot area. So, and also I just need a note on there on how the sign's going to be lit. It's obviously an internally lit sign, but we just need a note on the plan. So, subject to those two things, staff can recommend approval of it.
All right, so the landscaping in this picture, is it out there? Is this what's there now?
That's what's there right now, yeah.
Okay.
And we just need a plan that documents that it's either compliant now and what it is, so we can, make sure they keep it compliant over time, or, a plan that shows they're gonna upgrade it a little bit.
Okay, so if we make a motion to approve subject to those two things, and then if there's an issue with the landscaping,
I can't imagine there would be, because, at most, they need to add one more shrub, and then just detail, what it is that they're adding.
All right.
And I've spoken to the sign company that was working on that, and she had told the company that was doing the brand book for this, that, that they were going to need, that schematic, just showing, the landscape area and what was planted there. So I'm expecting to get that shortly.
Okay. We have any other questions or comments about this one?
So there's a total of 5 bushes there right now.
Well, 5 that I can see there, but then again, when they get in there, I don't know how long ago that picture was taken, because they just photoshopped that on, so they just need to, document that they're either compliant or will be compliant, and then we use that plan for ongoing enforcement. So if we go out there in a year and there's only 2, we could say, oh, one of the tools we use for ongoing enforcement.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right. Do we have a motion?
I'll motion for approval, subject to the landscaping being in compliance and the note whether or not, or how it's lit.
Yep.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we'll move down to this, also Sleep Inn, located at 11341 Campbell Lakes Drive. This would be the interstate interchange sign.
And this is a schematic for both of them. So the sign we just looked at is sign number 4 there in the bottom left-hand corner. And then one we're going to look at now is sign number 3, which is in the top left-hand corner of the illustration. This is a interstate pole sign. Again, it's just a reface of what's there now. There's only a few areas in town that are eligible for this type of sign. This is one of them. Because of its distance from the interchange, and we do have requirements, that limit height, and that's based on the elevation of the interstate there. But they're not making any changes to the height. They're just refacing the sign that's there, and so I had them document that there, so you can see the existing and the proposed are both the same height. And the size of the signs are the same, the dimensions. So they're really just, I'm putting a new face on the existing pylon sign. Staff can just recommend approval of that, subject to, again, just a note being put on there as to how it's lit. And again, I'm sure it's internally lit. I just, want to have documentation on the actual plan.
What about their landscaping there?
It's not required for that type of sign.
Okay, thank you.
Although they do have some there, so that's good.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to the lighting being stated on the plan.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so moving down to the staff report on the proposed sign ordinance amendments that looks like the Planning Commission recently discussed.
Yeah, I just wanted to, to keep you up to date on that. We presented it to the Planning Commission, the same materials that you had last meeting. And although there was one small addition that I made between when you saw it and when the planning commission saw it, and I'll tell you what that was. But the planning commission seemed content with the proposed changes, and they asked staff to go ahead and proceed to put it into ordinance form. It'll go back to the planning commission, and they'll recommend it onto the town board. And then the town board will, have to pass it by ordinance and put those amendments in place. Made one minor change or addition after I spoke to y'all, and it was just under the application requirements, and it was added a sentence just noting that, the applications had to be made in conformance with the requirements of the ordinance, and that, any other applicable regulation and standards applied, and that, and that it included, but, was not limited to zoning districts and/or the Farragut architectural design standards. Because sometimes we have people that look at the sign ordinance, but they don't look at those other things. So we thought at least put a note in there, kind of alert them that there are other things that they should check to make sure they don't miss things. So it was just, again, to make a slight improvement for enforcement and administrative purposes. So. So hopefully we'll be working on that. I don't think it's going to go to the planning commission in December. It might, but the actual ordinance form, the planning commission sort of left that up to staff depending on how much we get turned in for the December meeting. But it'll certainly, if it's not there in December, it'll be there in January, and then that'll start the process of the actual amending at the town board level.
Is anything happening with that, the sporting signage from those women from Farragut Crossing?
We haven't done anything on that yet. Again, the board here at the last meeting sort of wanted to, take that and really look at that. So, we just haven't had time to start working on that yet. They did submit to me, what their proposed language was. There's some elements of it that would be fine. There's some would probably have to sit down and think about as to whether or not it fit within a sign ordinance, and even in terms of messaging and being content neutral. But we'll look at that. I'd like to go out and look at what some other jurisdictions have done and just sort of see how they're doing it.
Just for grins, why don't you run it by Lawyer Hale, too?
Yeah, when we get down to that, we will.
Okay.
So.
Sounds good.
And actually, that group reached out to me earlier this week or the end of last week and just sort of asked for a status. So I told them sort of where we were on it. But thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Any other questions on ordinance amendments? No? Okay. The last item then would be, are we going to meet in December or not? And in years past, we have actually combined the November and December meetings into one early December meeting. We did not do that this time. Here we are.
Yeah.
So the question is, what do we do about the December meeting that happens a couple days after Christmas? So.
Yeah. It falls right in that week in between Christmas and New Year's. I didn't know whether we'd be able to have a quorum, if you want to punt on that meeting and kind of handle things we had as we have in the past. I didn't really think about the November meeting at the October meeting to bring this up, and it was kind of late by the time it dawned on me that it was so close to Thanksgiving. At the same time, sometimes when we have combined the December and November meetings and done it in early, December or mid-December, that anyone that's not aware that we're doing that, it's usually past the deadline for the December meeting anyway, or for that meeting anyway, and they end up having to wait till January. So it seemed like it might just be more logical to, or at least the way the calendar was breaking this this year, to at least think about what you wanted to do with the December meeting.
Do you have any knowledge of something coming up in December that would be pertinent that we would need to meet for?
No, not that I'm aware of. It seems like a lot of the projects that are under construction or, anywhere near needing signage have already applied for their signage. So, that's not to say something won't come up, but I'm not aware of anything coming in that's, just absolutely pressing.
So right now, if we decided not to meet in December and just hold the January meeting, you think it would be fine, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it would be. And if something does come up, I can always reach out to you and, we could either have a called meeting if it was pressing and somebody was really in a time crunch, or I think in the past, a few times we've, at least gotten some informal input as to whether or not, the board members are inclined to approve something, and, and then we can at least pass that on to the applicant, and if they're willing to take the risk, they can at least, have the sign company start fabricating and then wait to the actual meeting for the approval.
Is everyone comfortable with that for December?
Well, I'm going to be having anesthesia on December 27th, so.
So
You're not
Jeannie's
here
not,
either
so
way.
Jeannie's not going to be here, or,
You might be a fun person to be on
I'll be
that
a lot
night.
of
I mean,
fun,
you might be
yeah.
having all kinds of things to say.
Heaven forbid.
if other people were going to be in town or not. So.
The board typically takes that particular week off as
Yeah.
well, so it's,
It just makes sense then.
yeah, it does, really.
All right, well, that sounds like the plan then. We'll
Okay.
follow that one. All right, is there anything else we need to discuss this evening before we adjourn?
No, that's it.
All right, well, this was one of those easy meetings, so with that, meeting adjourned. See you in 2 months this time, so. All right.